variety of disciplines. This year's honorees are Beth Courtney, Art Favre, Dr. Saundra McGuire, Dr. Stephen McGuire, Paul Mainieri, Val Marmillion, and Thomas Whitehead, broadcasting live from Louisiana's old state capital.
Next on LPB.
Join Friends of LPB as we toast the much-anticipated cinematic return of the global phenomenon Downton Abbey. You can attend a private screening of Downton Abbey: A New Era on Wednesday, May 18th at Cinemark Perkins Row in Baton Rouge, and be among the lucky few to see the sequel before its national release. Hurry, tickets are going fast. Don't miss your chance to see it first. Go online to lpb.org/Downton to reserve your tickets now.
You're watching LPB.
Support for this program is provided by Roy O. Martin. Based in Alexandria, wood products company Roy O. Martin is proud to fulfill our founder's legacy in supporting the social, educational, and cultural needs of our local communities. Learn more at royomartin.com. The Louisiana Lottery is proud to join LPB in honoring Louisiana legends. Contributing over $4 billion for K-12 public education, the lottery is giving Louisiana a reason to smile. BOM Bank. Since 1903, BOM Bank has served the people and families of Central Louisiana and East Texas with the latest products and technology while keeping our founders' commitment to community and customer service. Brown Eagle of Baton Rouge, providing turnkey site logistics, third-party warehousing, fulfillment, rail loading, qualified forklift drivers, and logistics office staff. Brown Eagle is committed to excellence and is 100% woman-owned.
There is no other place quite like Louisiana. Our culture, natural landscape, cuisine, music, and way of life all make Louisiana truly unique. But those of us who call Louisiana home know it's the people who truly make our state great. For over 3 decades, LPB has sought to give those individuals who have brought acclaim both to themselves and to Louisiana the distinction of Louisiana legend. Since 1990, 149 men and women, musical virtuosos, pioneers in scientific discovery, star athletes, magnificent artists, influential public servants, esteemed business leaders, and generous philanthropists have been recognized and honored as Louisiana legends. Holding this one-of-a-kind event and honoring our Louisiana sons and daughters is our greatest source of pride. Thank you for joining us in this celebration for over 30 years. As legendary luminaries continue to shine brightly in Louisiana, LPB will be here to share their stories with you. Welcome to the 2022 Louisiana Legends Gala. Our hosts this evening are John Dennison and Robin Merrick.
Good evening and welcome to the 2022 Louisiana Legends Gala, live from the magnificent old Louisiana State Capitol. Now, this year we are delighted that you are joining us for this live gala broadcast. It is lovely to gather together to officially celebrate a new group of inductees to legends, people who have made an exceptional contribution to our state, and tonight we want to honor those achievements. And before we recognize these outstanding women and men, let me introduce my co-host for the evening, a dear friend of mine, Southern University System Vice President for External Affairs, and also a true friend of LPB, Robin Merrick.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much. The Louisiana Legends Gala was created in 1990 to honor the accomplishments of our state's best and brightest, Louisiana's own sons and daughters who have distinguished themselves in a variety of disciplines, from broadcasting to philanthropy and science to sports, environmental conservation, and the humanities. They join a prestigious list of 149 past Louisiana legends that includes Academy and Grammy Award winners, star athletes, Pulitzer Prize winners, and esteemed dignitaries, including the current United States Ambassador to the United Nations.
Now, tonight is such a special occasion for so many reasons as we celebrate 32 years of honoring the best of Louisiana, and we are recognizing 7 honorees. It's also the first time for us to honor the daughter of a former honoree, and the first time for us to recognize a couple who has achieved greatness in different yet equally impressive fields. A special thanks go to Governor and First Lady Edwards for serving as the honorary co-chairs for this year's gala. In addition, we'd like to thank Commissioner of Administration Jay Darden for joining us this evening. We'd also like to express our appreciation to Secretary of State Kyle Ardoin and his staff for allowing us to broadcast once again from Louisiana's old state capital for tonight's celebration. And it's always a privilege for us to present the gala and welcome our Louisiana Legends honorees and guests to this true architectural gem. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to introduce the 2022 Louisiana Legends. National Collegiate Baseball Writers Association Coach of the Year, and one of only 6 coaches in NCAA history to have won over 1,400 games and a national championship, Paul Mainieri.
Television trailblazer, one of the first women to achieve national leadership in broadcasting, and former vice chair to PBS and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, Beth Courtney.
Successful entrepreneur and philanthropist, making extraordinary impacts to healthcare, medical research, and education, Arthur Favre.
One of the top campaign strategists in the country, committed to illuminating global challenges, Val Marmillion.
Arts preservationist dedicated to the legacy of Clementine Hunter, Thomas Whitehead.
Southern University principal investigator to the LIGO Scientific Collaboration, awarded the 2017 Nobel Prize in Physics, Dr. Stephen McGuire.
Internationally acclaimed learning specialist and recipient of the Presidential Award for Excellence in Science, Mathematics, and Engineering Mentoring, Dr. Saundra McGuire. Ladies and gentlemen, our 2022 Louisiana Legends. In baseball, as in life, everything important starts at home. Following in his father's footsteps, our first honoree achieved national greatness, all the while affecting lives on and off the diamond. Ladies and gentlemen, let's learn about Paul Mainieri.
coach was so much more than just a baseball coach to me and to so many others. He cared about every player that he ever coached.
Not only was he a great, husband, is he a great husband and father, but he never let that interfere, with the coaching or vice versa.
I always thought my dad was a legend even before all of these accolades.
In 1957, Paul was born the second of 5 children in Morgantown, West Virginia, to Rosetta and Demi Mainieri. 1 month later, his family moved to Miami, Florida, where his mother worked as an elementary school teacher, and his father started the baseball program at Miami-Dade Community College. It wasn't long before he became known as one of the greatest junior college baseball coaches in history. But Paul was on his own path to greatness. Paul's senior year in high school, he was named Most Outstanding Athlete and was inducted into the school's Hall of Fame. As a college freshman, he played baseball for Louisiana State University, where he met the love of his life, Karen Fegis, a cheerleader from Belle Chase. They've been married 42 years and have 4 children and 4 grandchildren. After playing 1 season at LSU, Paul completed his college career at the University of New Orleans. Then he was drafted by the Chicago White Sox. Within a few years, he began what would become a remarkable 38-year coaching career.
Paul became a wonderful coach at an early age. Okay, he went to school like Biscayne College. He moved to the Air Force Academy, which of course is a tough place to coach. And he won there and did a great job like he did at Biscayne. Then of course he moved to Notre Dame, and he's the winningest coach that Notre Dame's ever had. Meanwhile, in 2005, we needed a baseball coach, and I was the athletic director. And I called Paul, and he said, boy, it wouldn't go anywhere else except to LSU.
Paul would go on to coach 14 seasons at LSU, and in 2009 he coached the Tigers to victory in the College World Series National Championship. He won National Coach of the Year 4 times and was inducted into the American Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame, along with his father, Denny.
LSU, not only have to be a good coach, but you have to be able to get into the community and speak to the fans. And he's excellent at that, and he did it very, very well. And of course, he coached well. He's had many players, and many have gone on to the big leagues. So I'm very proud of Paul.
Those who know Paul best, however, say his greatness isn't just in how he coaches. It's how he treats people.
I think his secret ingredient to success would be attention to the little details. I really think that's his secret ingredient. I think too many times we see, people focusing on the big picture.
Well, I feel that I was incredibly lucky to play for him, as do many of his other players. And that's why he has the relationship still today with the players from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, to the guys now, more recent. But it's because of the way he treated his players.
He treats his players like he treats his children. He treats me the same way, he treats his starting shortstop. And I think, I think that's what a legend does.
Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Mainieri.
Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful introduction, and thank you to my friends and all of my family for being here tonight to share this wonderful day with me, this special day. I especially want to thank and express my appreciation to Louisiana Public Broadcasting, especially Bo Harris, who called me to tell me of my selection, and to the Board of Directors for this tremendous honor. when I look at the list of the other honorees tonight, as well as past recipients of this recognition, in all honesty, I feel very humble because I really don't necessarily see myself in the same category as these people. I must say that being the first person up here tonight is a very unusual spot for me to be the leadoff hitter. You see, when I played for the legendary coach Ron Maestri at the University of New Orleans, who is here tonight, he put me in the NCAA record book, most consecutive games batting ninth in the order. I never could understand why he made me bat last all the time, because in my 2 years at UNO, I hit 400. I hit 200 as a junior and 200 as a senior. I had this amazing privilege to coach at 3 wonderful institutions, as it was said in the video. St. Thomas University, a small school in Miami, Florida. I then became the first civilian baseball coach at the United States Air Force Academy, which was a tremendous thrill. And of course, then I spent 12 years at the University of Notre Dame. And I loved everywhere that I worked. Loved every university, every institution, and every city that we lived in. And I certainly thought that Notre Dame was going to be my last stop in my coaching career. I actually had turned down a handful of offers at other schools while I was a coach at Notre Dame, including a few schools in the SEC. But then one day I received a phone call from the greatest college baseball coach in history, who happened to be the athletic director at LSU, Skip Bertman. How do you say no to Skip? It's impossible. The truth is, I really didn't want to coach anywhere else other than LSU. For me, it was the only place that I would have left, for which I would have left Notre Dame. I had met my wife, Karen, when I was a freshman at LSU. We both had many friends down here in Louisiana, and we both loved the state. So it was really like coming home for us, and it was really a message that this is where we were supposed to be. So it was pretty easy to say yes to Skip, and obviously my life changed forever with that decision to come here, with the invitation and then subsequent decision. I coached over 900 games as the LSU baseball coach during those 15 years. And I can tell you that every time I pulled that jersey on over my head, I felt an enormous responsibility and a tremendous sense of pride in representing the state. And I would tell my players the same thing, and how honored they should be to wear the uniform as well, and that they should never do anything on or off the field other than to bring great honor to this state and to this institution. I'm very proud of the growth and the development of the young men entrusted to me during the last decade and a half. They did a tremendous job on the field, obviously winning a national championship, making 5 trips to Omaha for the College World Series, and winning several SEC championships. But I was equally proud of all of them for graduating from LSU, being role models for young children in our community, and for being community servants off the field. This state has also been so great to and affected my entire family. All 4 of my children, who are all here tonight, Nicholas, Alexandra, Samantha, and Tommy, all 4 of them met their spouses here in Louisiana. In fact, 3 of them reside in Louisiana, and the 4th, well, we're trying to get him back to Louisiana, and I think we will do that sometime in the very near future. Our state, Louisiana, is the most wonderful place that I know. I say this because I've found the citizens of our state to be people that love life, that are resilient and tough, and are as generous as people can possibly be. We must all continue to do our part to make our state a great place to live by treating each other with respect and love. My father used to tell me all the time, treat people the way that you want to be treated. And if we just do a better job of that across the board, I think that it'll come natural and easy for us, the respect that we can have for other people. I can honestly say that I feel like the luckiest guy in the entire world. All I ever wanted to do was follow my mother's footsteps as a teacher and my father's footsteps as a college baseball coach, and impact young people's lives in a positive way. Not only was I able to fulfill my dream of being a coach, I was able to do it at an institution that I love and in a state that I love. I hope that the people that love LSU baseball as much as I do feel that I did a good, decent enough job during my decade and a half leading the program. And I hope that they feel that we represented our university and our state the way that it should be represented. I will always be very proud to have worn the gold and purple, the purple and gold, and I'm honored to have served this state, this university, and LSU. Again, thank you so much for this tremendous honor.
Her passion for all things Louisiana helped to spearhead the establishment of one of the most recognizable and worthwhile statewide institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, Beth Courtney.
You ask someone in public broadcasting about Beth Courtney, they know Beth Courtney.
Beth doesn't really respond to the honor of doing something. She responds to the challenge of doing it.
I can't even imagine LPB without Beth Courtney. They are one and the same.
Beth Hardy Courtney was born on May 15, 1945 in Shreveport, Louisiana, the oldest of 3 children and the only daughter of a 3-star general.
Her father, John Spencer Hardy, was from Logansport, Louisiana, and her mother, Virginia Hardy, was from Shreveport. And they lived all over the world, moving every 2 to 3 years, which for my extroverted mother, she loved it, absolutely loved it. They lived in Virginia, Arizona, Colorado. They were living in Hawaii when she was in middle school, and Hawaii became a state.
She had a wide worldview, and she from all this moving and getting to meet people, etc. And she knew that things could be better, could be bigger, could be different.
Yet the lure of Louisiana was strong. Beth attended Louisiana State University, earning a master's in European history. She was working as a radio reporter at the state capitol when WLPB, Louisiana Public Broadcasting, first went on the air. In 1976, Beth was named executive producer of LPB. She started Louisiana, the State We're In, a weekly news magazine show that to this day is one of the longest running of its kind in the country.
Louisiana, the State We're In. With Public Affairs Director Beth George.
In 1985, Beth became president and CEO of LPB, making her one of the first women in the country to lead a statewide public broadcasting network.
She was dogged, she was indefatigable, just as she is now, single-minded, had an agenda for what she was trying to put together for news, and very professional.
She didn't really see gender in leadership. You just go forward and you give your ideas and you fight for what you believe in. And to her, it was never just about doing television either. It was about the issues and making a difference.
With a passion for politics and history, Beth spent the next decades overseeing countless productions that highlighted everything from Louisiana's unique cuisine.
Hello and welcome to A Taste of Louisiana. I'm Chef John Falls, and today we're cooking Cajun and Creole.
To its challenges, to its politicians and people.
Well, I think all the governors have respected her voice. She is a staunch advocate, as you know, for public broadcast, and she's never been shy, no shrinking violet, about talking about the importance of the investment and the return on the investment for LPB.
Now, Governor Romer, you certainly had difficulty with the legislature yourself.
I'm just listening.
Certainly for me, as someone who's worked in governor's offices, I can remember at the dawn of any administration, seeing her broadcasting early that morning, talking about the new administration.
In the late 1980s, Beth became the first woman vice chair of the Public Broadcasting System's Board of Directors. And in 2003, President George W. Bush appointed her to the National Board of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
She became very well known in Washington, D.C. circles. something that was very unheard of at that time. And she actually excelled in this. And from that, we as LPB excelled.
Where the bottom line is quality television and educational television.
We have a lot of those on cable.
She had that southern charm and that great ability and that smile and those dimples, and she could look so nice and sweet, and underneath it there's a steel magnolia.
Her commitment to public media and to serving the people of Louisiana is undiminished.
She absolutely lives her values in her priorities: family, work, community, faith. They all come out in the way that she allocates her time, her efforts, her energy, and her love. Those things will never be sacrificed.
She is public broadcasting. She really is.
Ladies and gentlemen, Beth, Courtney.
You know, I'm used to being in another position, introducing others. This is very strange for me. So first, I would like to thank the Friends of LPB for this amazing honor. In the early 80s, when I became CEO of LPB, I conceived of the program Louisiana Legends because I had had the privilege of meeting and interviewing so many extraordinary people from our state. And I really realized that many of our citizens never had that opportunity to make connections. Like I would interview Kix Brooks of Kix Brooks and realize he was a great country star. And then I would interview Paul Groves, a star at the Metropolitan Opera from Lake Charles, and realized no one knew they were both from Louisiana. So I thought, let's have a show that talks about all the great people we have in the state. And so I then singled out leaders like a heart surgeon, Michael DeBakey from Lake Charles, extraordinary men and women who can make us all proud. Ernest Gaines, Tony Kushner, John Foles, Elizabeth Ashley. Well, I never imagined I would be part of that number. I don't really, even now I'm honored to be in the company of these fellow legends tonight. It's been such an honor. Thank you so much. You know, every summer when I think about Louisiana, we would visit my grandmothers in Shreveport and Logansport, where we would sleep in the heat of screen porches and listen to cicadas who created a unique jungle environment. You know that sound in Louisiana. Well, I was sent to LSU so I might come to know my state and the people in it better. The Dean of Women was a friend of my mother, and my mother thought she would watch over me even though there were 35,000 students. And she did, and I never left. To this day, I have cherished friends from my college days. Wherever we lived, we were visited by friends from Louisiana. The stories from our state were perfect scripts for LPB documentaries. The music, the food, and the history is extraordinary. I feel so blessed to live in this colorful and friendly state. As I was elected to leadership roles in public television, I had a rich heritage to draw from, like Taste of Louisiana and the civil rights breakthrough documentary, The Baton Rouge Bus Boycott. Well, I also hoped that my national experience, I could bring some things home to Louisiana. And whenever I have to give a speech, I always remember this one night in Washington, D.C., and I was supposed to introduce Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers, yes, that Mr. Rogers. And I was in a room with 1,000 people, and I said, please come to the microphone. And he walked up to the microphone, and he fell off the back of the stage. And I thought, I'm going to be the person who killed Mr. Rogers. But he came up to the mic, and he said, it's all right to make a mistake. In that wonderful way he was saying, you all turn into 4-year-olds again. It's all right to make a mistake. And so I learned that it was try things, do something innovative, try them. It's okay to make a mistake. And, you know, it's also something that I learned from him is be kind. Was his phrase. Whatever you do, be kind. And I think the staff here at LPB prepared an incredible documentary when I retired. Although my husband, sweet husband, Bob, says I'm still, you know, meddling. And I promise, Cece, I won't meddle that much. But I enjoyed everything I did in my years with LPB. And I think we can now become an institution that Louisianians can cite with pride. We're known for distinguished sports figures, of course, but also for the men and women who've reached the pinnacles of their fields, be it receiving Tonys, Grammys, or becoming governor. Well, I want to thank my dear family for putting up with this passion and making it possible. Bob, thank you. Julia, thank you. Tommy, thank you. My brother John. My brother George is I think he's in Peru right now, but thank you, George, too. And my darling grandchildren, Virginia and Andrew. It's been such a special evening to be with all of you. I'm so fortunate there are so many wonderful people in this state who support public broadcasting. We have 3 boards of directors, and it's a wonderful, wonderful group of people. You are so fortunate, and the staff is fabulous. They're going to do great things, and I won't dabble that much. I'm really looking forward to continue to be a volunteer. I hope you all choose to do that as well. There's so many more stories to tell, and I don't think we'll run out of stories. I think we are so fortunate. I run into some of my colleagues in other states, and I think, what did you do in Iowa? How's your cooking? We did 150 cooking shows, and if we'd only monetize it and the cooking channel, we would be rich as can be. You know, what we managed to do was put a drain on redfish, I think, by all the things we did with the cooking shows. Justin Wilson was funny, but not a very good cook. Nobody wanted to bring home his leftovers. On the other hand, John Foles, everyone wanted to bring home his leftovers. And so I thank him so much, and I thank every one of you for being part of making this a very, very special institution. Thank you for tonight. And it's been challenging for me. As some of you know, I've had some health issues, and being here just makes me feel 100% better. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I love you, Beth, and not only thank you for all you have done for public broadcasting. As a former commercial or private broadcaster, thank you all for all you've done for journalism in the state, for bringing us together for an occasion like this and bringing our best and brightest together. You are truly a legend, and you fit right in with everybody else. We love you. Building better is not only his company's mantra, it is a way of life for our next honoree, committed to cultivating a better world through compassion and benevolence. Ladies and gentlemen, Art Favre.
Art is an energetic, visionary leader, and he always strives to do things perfectly.
You know, the one thing that I always tell people about Art is he has a ability to empower people around him to be successful.
I'm just in awe of everything he's done throughout his whole life.
Art Favre grew up on a 40-acre farm near the rural town of Woolmarket, Mississippi, with his parents, Arthur and Leela Tot Favre, and his sister, Patricia Ann. When Art and his sister were teenagers, the family moved to the coastal city of Gulfport. Art loved music and in high school joined a rock and roll band. He soon found that performing on stage gave him confidence that set him on a course for a lifetime of success. Art was always fascinated by construction, a passion he inherited. His great-grandfather and grandfather were shipbuilders, and his dad served in the construction battalion during World War II. So it was only natural that at LSU, Art joined LSU's construction management program. It is here that he began gaining momentum as a business leader.
Became president and vice president of the fraternity, and really back then we had about an $80,000 budget, and it was a big deal herding about 100 guys, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, and getting payments and learning, and I think that's where we really learned our start in business.
Art graduated from LSU in 1972 and worked as a project estimator for several construction companies. Then at the age of 29, with more energy than sense, as he puts it, he started Performance Contractors along with his partner, Ron White.
Performance Contractors employ right at 10,000 people today, more than they did pre-COVID. His business has grown exponentially over the years.
Starting from zero as a company in 1979 to 30 years later, being over $1 billion company. And you only grow that way if you are able to remove obstacles and barriers that are in the way. And the way you do that is trust people and let them be successful as you are, and it helps you to be successful.
It's the same instinct he extends to his 2 children and 5 grandchildren.
Dad, I think one of the things he pushed for was strong work ethics, and you know, we always worked and understood the value of a dollar. Dad's a very compassionate guy. Now I'm getting emotional. I think he's very compassionate and considerate of other people. He has the ability to listen to what anybody's issues, and he always seems to have the right answer.
He's such a hard worker, but as hard as he works, he likes to play hard too. And he instills that at the company as well. And I guess that's why people are such good workers that work for Performance, because they've learned that, you know, you work hard, but we have a lot of fun too.
Art serves on numerous boards and civic foundations, and when not working, his happy place is on a boat, deep sea fishing.
Art and I have been fishing for over 25 years together, and we fish competitively in the Gulf of Mexico and around the world as well. You know, his boat is named a work of art, which is pretty, if people that know art, you know, can, you know, appreciate the name behind that.
I just admire the type of person that he is for all of his hard work and to continue to give back. And in fact, my son was just doing a project the other day, and he had to decide, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he was like, I want to be like Granddad, where I can work hard and have a family and do well and be able to give back to the community. And I was like, wow. I mean, nobody told him that. He figured that out on his own. And I think that's just wonderful that he sees that in his granddad.
Ladies and gentlemen, Art Favre. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Wow, it's such an honor to be here tonight and see a lot of great friends of mine and a lot of great community leaders and all this esteemed group up here that I'm sharing the stage with this evening. It's mind-boggling for a kid from Gulfport, Mississippi. But at any rate, first off, I would really like to thank Louisiana Broadcasting for everything that they do day in and day out for the citizens of Louisiana. I think they're kind of a one-of-a-kind organization in the state, and they do a phenomenal job, and I think it's great, and obviously all of y'all recognize that as well, but it's wonderful. And I'd like to personally thank the Friends of LPB for first off selecting me for this honor to be in the ranks of all these astounding people that have been Louisiana legends in the past, and it's hard to consider yourself a legend when you're still walking and talking, but it's exciting, so thank you. So I was asked to say a few things about Louisiana, and that's pretty easy to do, but Louisiana has been just a wonderful place to spend most of my adult life. And when I think back to 1968 and the decision I made to head west to the real tiger country versus east, you know, to those Auburn Tigers kind of people, you know. I mean, I just never realized at that time what a profound decision that would have in my life to come. My college years at LSU not only prepared me for the career opportunities, but my fraternity membership established lifelong friendships, and several of those brothers are here tonight to celebrate this honor with me. I appreciate y'all coming. Fraternity leadership involvement also taught me many lifelong organizational and people interaction skills. Louisiana also is where I met my wife, and we raised 2 wonderful children who you saw in the video. And now we are blessed to have 5 grandchildren currently growing up in this great state of Louisiana. 43 years ago, Louisiana offered me the opportunity to start my own business. With 2 Louisiana natives and 1 transplant from the Mississippi Gulf Coast, which I always claimed was just a suburb of New Orleans, and I still claim that. So, you know, it's just, technically I was part of Louisiana, sort of, kind of, because we had so many Louisiana people visiting all the time over there. Today, Performance Contractors employs thousands of Louisiana families, and their talents are instrumental in building major industrial facilities, not just along the Gulf Coast, but from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific. You know, there's lots of great things to keep in mind and think about when you're living in Louisiana, not the least of which is phenomenal cuisine, which we experienced some of that this evening. But in my mind, at the top of the list are the people of Louisiana. At the root of any success I may have achieved, Louisianans are up there providing all of the skilled and productive workforce that's required to make this state successful. These individuals make a great name for themselves wherever they go throughout the United States. The Gauchos, the Corvilles, the Bros, the Mobiles, and yes, even Boudreaux and Thibodeaux, and so many, many more. They are why I love Louisiana as a home. And they're what has driven me to do all the things that we tried to do as a company and philanthropically and everything else. Louisiana is just a wonderful place, and it's all about the people that make it that way. So I want to thank LPB for this tremendous honor, and thank you, God, for making Louisiana a very special place to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. Our next honoree is known as a champion for conservation, earning national recognition for his groundbreaking work bringing consequential topics to the forefront. Ladies and gentlemen, Val Marmillion.
Val is someone, if you want to get something done, then go to Val.
Val has always had a collaborative approach, bring everyone to the table.
His strength is his heart and his youth, his creativity.
Valson A. Marmillion was born on April 16, 1950 in Cleveland, Mississippi, the middle of 5 children. When he was 4, his father, a high school teacher and football coach, moved the family to Houma, Louisiana. Val showed an early interest in politics and served as student body president of his high school and president of the student union at Northwestern State University. After college, he set sail to Capitol Hill, where he enjoyed an extraordinary career in campaign strategies and public relations.
He went to Washington, and he worked as administrative assistant for 3 or 4 representatives, and spent a long time with in John Breuer's Senate.
His work soon spread beyond politics. In 1983, Val co-founded Val Marmillion Associates, a consulting firm specializing in marketing, public relations, and public affairs. He developed a reputation for creating consensus where there was often little.
I think what's unique about Val's approach to his work has been his philosophy that if you're not at the table, then you're on the menu. And so everyone gets a seat at the table. He brings together opposing sides on really emotional, complex issues and helps them find common ground.
Val has led countless far-reaching and historic public education campaigns that seek to empower and make the world, especially Louisiana, a better place.
So much of what he has done has been to help Louisiana. His activism in preservation, restoration of the coast. He's been a huge advocate of making people aware that this is our plight and we've got to try and do something about it.
I would say his legacy work is the wetlands, giving him a chance to come home to Louisiana and make such an incredible impact on bringing not just national but worldwide attention to the fact that Louisiana is not just important to the people living in Louisiana, but we feed and fuel the nation.
We used to go fishing. We'd get up and it was dark in the morning. It took us 40, 50 minutes to get to a fishing hole. And then now you go to the same spot where you would put your boat in and there's nothing there. And so he got our father to be the spokesperson in a way for this, because I think he said, my dad represents his love of the land and the culture, and it's gone. We're losing it. And so I think it was very personal for him.
Those who know Val best say his personal integrity is what makes him a cut above the rest.
I've just never seen anyone that has their compass so clearly focused on doing the right thing. Working in Louisiana politics, you get asked to do things that you might not feel good about, maybe in the pursuit of winning campaigns and things like that. And I've just never seen him waver on that. He just has a center to him of knowing the right thing to do and doing it.
Val is a legend because it takes a big heart and a very creative mind to do or to accomplish what he has in his 30-something years of his professional careers.
Val is a rarity in Louisiana. He's strong, and he's never going to compromise himself. And I'm very fortunate to be his older brother.
Ladies and gentlemen, Val Marmillion.
It's a great honor to be among the legends, although it means something, doesn't, when you're called a legend. And we accept that with all of the stripes on our back that we have earned over these years. Tonight, when I was thinking about what I would say, I thought of my Cajun mother, because Beth and her team said, please talk about what Louisiana means to you. And my double Purple Heart recipient father, who fought hard for this country. And the two of them showed me and my family values growing up that I think were based on Louisiana values. So where I want to start is with this discussion about values is about the years that Louisiana Public Broadcasting has been serving Louisiana. Beth and her team have worked so hard to bring honest and legitimate information about our culture, our arts, our creativity. She and her organization have always been colorblind, culture blind, and have made this state really renowned for the quality work and information and stories that have been able to be told by her. So while certainly it's an honor to receive this award, the award really should be given to Louisiana Public Broadcasting in all of our names every year. Because who is going to tell the stories of Louisiana in a divisive world? Who is going to tell the story of a black musician? Who's going to tell the story of a Cajun poet? Who's going to tell the story of what happens in North Louisiana, a little town, a big city? Who is here to do that? It's not going to happen in the political realm. Unfortunately, we have tough times ahead of us. And I learned the hard way about these values of Louisiana by trying to save Louisiana's coast. The coast is so important. And Louisiana Public Broadcasting and the America's Wetland Foundation joined together to try to bring news and stories about the real people, the grassroots nature of our state that makes us so different and makes us so valuable to the nation and to the world. So my first thought of three is that we need to honor Louisiana Public Broadcasting through these awards. And Beth, I cherish all that you've done and the staff and Kathy Seymour and her committee today. The second point that I'd like to make is that we're better together. And we seem to have lost our way on the path of being good partners with each other. And as a country, we have always taken on the challenges. And in Louisiana, we've always had to strive harder. We weren't good enough. Our colleges weren't the best, this and that. But we were, actually. If you look around at the stars and the luminaries that we've created here, I think it's from the hard work and the struggle and those values I was talking about of caring for one another. So we are better together. When I was at Northwestern, I created a youth program that is now 50 years old called the Louisiana Youth Seminar. I did it because I'd gone to youth programs and there were not black and white kids there. And I said, well, this doesn't look like who we are. Why can't we all be in this room together and succeed? And now, after the kids who've been to that program have been elected representatives and city councilmen and people who serve in our government, it's been a wonderful opportunity to look back and see what thinking about working together really truly means. That was what Louisiana was and should be in the future, and we should take our steps to try to make that happen every day. Finally, I went through a tough period last 2 years with the pandemic, as many of you may have been. I, at the beginning of the pandemic, closed down my company and closed down the America's Wetland Foundation because we felt we had achieved what we set out to do, which was to put the Louisiana wetland issue on the map. Now, the biggest trouble with having nothing to do is you can't tell when you're done. So I was in this period of like thinking this through, and I was going, God, what am I going to do? And Ronna Gray, who's been a dear friend for years, she said, you need to write down some stories because you're a good storyteller. And this was coming from a great storyteller. So she said, write down the stories and it's going to be great. Then leave them behind and go do your next thing. And so this was the result of that. It was years worth of work of telling stories, and you can all get it by going to my name on Facebook before it becomes a New York Times bestseller. It's stories that you will all be comfortable hearing, and it is about people who can learn to say yes to each other. My career and my life has been built on people allowing me and my ideas to go forward. There were many times when they said no, and I aggravated them so much until they would say yes eventually. And so those ideas became what we have today in the America's Wetland Foundation, the Talk to Someone Who Can Help campaign for the American Psychological Association, the first AIDS campaign in America. All of that would not have happened without people saying, yes, you can do it. So to my family, a mi familia de Argentina, my wonderful friends and associates who are here, and those in the room who've allowed me and others to go forward by saying yes, let me challenge you, next time you're thinking of someone wanting to do something that's really creative, say yes to them. It will make you feel as good as them. Thank you so much for this distinct honor.
An unlikely friendship turned into lifetime advocacy for our next honoree. His archives have become the definitive source of information about Clementine Hunter, her life, her work, and her legacy. Ladies and gentlemen, Thomas Whitehead.
Tom Whitehead is the kind of person that you think of when you think of a Louisiana legend.
I think Tommy was a great professor. I think he was a great person who really enjoyed his job.
Mr. Whitehead has spent the vast majority of his life promoting Clementine Hunter's artwork, educating others about her artwork.
On December 29, 1946, Tom was born the only child of Grace and R.T. Whitehead. He was raised on a cattle farm in the small community of Pride, Louisiana.
He still goes back to Pride, even though Pride is hardly there these days. He still goes back there and has lots of friends. Friends from elementary school remain friends of his.
Tom graduated from Northwestern State University with a degree in political science and a minor in communications. During the height of the 60s protests, Tom headed to Boston University to obtain a master's degree in public relations and communications. Tom's experiences in Boston forever shaped his life, but Louisiana was still home. In 1969, Tom returned to begin what would be a 30-year tenure as a professor of journalism at Northwestern State in Natchitoches. He poured himself into his students.
Some students would come to the university not knowing which direction in life they wanted to take. He spent a lot of time with them. Some of them went on to become important in business and so forth, many just to have a good job and a good life as a result of meeting Tommy.
He was just a guy who literally sowed seeds into his students, especially if he saw something in you. I think that Tommy had a big thumbprint on what I did post-Northwestern.
The most important relationship Tom formed, however, would be with Clementine Hunter, the folk artist who lived and worked picking cotton on Melrose Plantation in the Cane River Valley.
The best thing that I remember about Tommy was him giving me the opportunity to go and meet Clementine Hunter and take her paints.
Clementine Hunter produced thousands of paintings that documented black Southern life in the early 20th century. And for almost 60 years, Tom documented Clementine Hunter's life, co-authoring several books, including her biography, and co-producing several documentaries about her.
Tommy brought his innate sense of passion for history and for preservation to anything that he encountered from the very first foundation of his encounters with Clementine. So he was naturally from the very beginning, documenting, collecting things, and as a journalist, as a professor of journalism, he was paying careful attention to the integrity of facts.
Tom's weekly visits with Clementine Hunter became some of the most defining moments in his life, and it helped bring her work into the spotlight. Tom also played an important role in protecting her work from forgeries.
My first encounter with Mr. Whitehead was when I started a fraud investigation involving art forgeries made in the likeness of original works by the Louisiana folk artist Clementine Hunter. Mr. Tom Whitehead was invaluable as far as educating me as to the history of Clementine Hunter, the artist, her art techniques, how she painted, the materials that she used, and why her artwork was so collectible and important, not just to Louisiana, but to the entire world.
One of the things that he did that was very important for her art was that he helped to establish a standard for authenticity. A clear sense of authenticity enabled individual collectors and museums to purchase work and to display work with confidence.
Tom Whitehead's advocacy for Clementine Hunter has protected and shaped her legacy, creating his own legacy that will last for generations.
As Clementine Hunter's individual works begin to be acknowledged in a deeper way, Tommy Whitehead will always be cited for his lifetime successful efforts in bringing Clementine Hunter's work into the limelight.
The education he provided me, the inspiration, I would never be in the position that I am today had it not been for Tom Whitehead, period.
Ladies and gentlemen, Thomas Whitehead.
The recognition tonight reflects a lifetime in Louisiana, except for a 2-year stint in Boston at Boston University, where I received my master's. I am all Louisiana. The beginning of the Clementine Hunter story goes back to a fall afternoon in 1965 when Oral Williams, teaching developmental English on closed-circuit television, asked me, her student worker handling graphics on her class, if I'd like to ride out to Melrose. She had some edited columns to return to Francois Mignon, and we stopped by Clementine Hunter's house. Meeting the artist and Francois began a long journey and a very rich life. The highlight was bringing the 3 forgers to justice with the FBI in its first prosecution of forgery in American folk art. Other forgers had been around, but not on the scale of the Toy Lucky operation. And the Hunter work led me to co-authoring 2 books with Art Shiver and many lectures around the country and friendships with Robert Wilson, the impresario of modern opera, famous for Einstein on the Beach, who visited Melrose as a child in the late 1940s, and at that time he met Clementine Hunter and Francois Mignon, and that it created and made an impression on him for the remainder of his life. Much later, he produced an original opera, Zinnias and the Life of Clementine Hunter, of which I was fortunate to attend the opening premiere night. An outstanding experience of my 30 years at Northwestern was coordinating the distinguished lecture series and interaction with remarkable speakers like William F. Buckley, Ray Bradbury, Maya Angelou, F. Lee Bailey, Coretta Scott King, Hubert Humphrey, Senator Strom Thurmond, Margaret Mead, Buckminster Fuller, and many more. No greater satisfaction has come from the many students I taught. At least 4 represented here tonight. One skipped out, which was typical when he was here. One is Dr. Marcus Jones, the president at Northwestern, who I sent abroad as a study abroad advisor to Plymouth, England, when he was an undergraduate. Dr. Jim Henderson, who's the one not here tonight, he's head of the University of Louisiana System president. And I always say this, and I still say it tonight. My white hair came when he was editor of the campus newspaper, The Current Sauce. And he also had a sidekick as his investigative reporter on campus, And that kid, Greg Ashlock, is now president of iHeartRadio in the United States. Dr. Steve Horton, who didn't make it tonight because he had a tragedy, a student died at the Louisiana School. He was a student of mine, and he is now director of the Louisiana School for Math, Science, and the Arts. My guest tonight was supposed to be Kip Patrick, Communications Director for the Clean Cooking Alliance of the United Nations Foundation. And he was supposed to be going from here to Rwanda for a conference. Well, he's down in the bed with COVID. So standing in for Kip tonight is Stan Broom, who is an attorney and a graduate of Northwestern, and he now represents the Clementine Hunter Copyright as a pro bono counsel, and he's also the pro bono counsel for the KA fraternity at Northwestern State University. He has two good clients that nobody pays. My association with Friends of LPBG was at the very beginning when Max Fetty, Lucille Woodard, and others, when we started the Friends of Louisiana Educational Television way back when it began. I am a native of Pride, Louisiana, and a high school graduating class of 32 students, including Lela Mae Wilkes, an earlier Louisiana legend, and shows how life in Louisiana can be rewarding, interesting, and certainly fun along the way. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Tom. As far back as he can remember, there was a wonder about how things worked. Why is the moon bigger than any other light in the sky? Our next honoree turned his curiosity into discovery that validated Einstein's theory of relativity. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Stephen McGuire.
My father loves problem solving. He looks at a problem in the most in-depth way of anyone I've ever encountered.
And he's a Renaissance individual, a cut above all the rest that I've met as a scientist. And my life has been enhanced by knowing Dr. Stephen McGuire.
I know that his work ethic and the way he approaches family, his scholarship, has been just wonderful examples for me. And he really, really sets that standard high.
Stephen C. McGuire entered the world on September 17, 1948, the third of 8 children. His parents, Harry and Ruth Audrey Barsock McGuire, always emphasized that the way to a better life was through education, though at that time schools were segregated by law.
My father grew up in the Treme in New Orleans in the 1950s, and against all odds and obstacles became a professor of physics at an Ivy League institution.
From an early age, Stephen excelled in school and graduated valedictorian of his class at Joseph S. Clark Senior High School. He was the first in his family to graduate high school. He earned a 4-year academic scholarship at Southern University and A&M College, where he majored in physics and minored in mathematics. Stephen graduated magna cum laude and continued his education with a master's degree in nuclear physics from the University of Rochester and a PhD from Cornell University in nuclear science.
My dad is the embodiment of the highest standard. So whatever it means to do your absolute best, pull out all the stops in the service of one particular worthy goal. That's my dad.
In 1982, Stephen joined Alabama A&M University's Department of Physics and Applied Physics, where he began research with NASA. 7 years later, in 1989, he became the first African-American faculty member at the Endowed College of Engineering at Cornell University. However, Ithaca, New York is a long way from the Bayou State. It was a desire to return home that brought Stephen back to Southern University in 1999. As chair of the Department of Physics, he set out to make a difference in the lives of young people in his community, the state, and beyond.
And 90% of the young people who attend there are first-generation college attenders. And that's really a transformative experience for them to be able to attend the university and have their futures opened up to them.
It was during this time that Stephen began his critical role as the LIGO Scientific Collaboration Principal Investigator for Southern University. He considers work with LIGO, the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory, to be one of his greatest achievements.
He was one of the hundreds of scientists on the paper that established the existence of gravitational waves, which was Einstein's last major prediction that didn't have experimental evidence until they found it. And if that wasn't enough, he single-handedly made sure to involve Southern University in this international gravitational wave experiment, and he spearheaded the education center attached to it.
The LIGO project won a multitude of awards, most notably the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2017.
The thing that I really admire about Steve in all of his awards, that is he's an extremely humble person.
It's a legacy Stephen and his wife, Dr. Saundra McGuire, have passed on to their two daughters. Dr. Carla McGuire Davis is a department chair at Baylor College of Medicine, and Dr. Stephanie N. McGuire is an author and mezzo-soprano in Berlin, Germany. The McGuires have 4 grandchildren.
I've seen the impact he's had on so many young students, including my daughter, who wants to follow in his footsteps and study aerospace engineering. My dad has made an incredible impact worldwide.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Stephen McGuire. It's hard to follow.
Thank you so very much, dear. Whew, I'm tired. Thank you, friends of Louisiana Public Broadcasting, as well as Robin, for that very gracious introduction. Good evening, everyone. It is indeed a privilege this evening to express my heartfelt appreciation to the Board of Directors of the Friends of Louisiana Public Broadcasting, as well as those who nominated me for the honor of being named a 2022 Louisiana Legend. Indeed, I am honored, yet I am very humbled by this distinction. And before I go on any further, I must express my appreciation to my family who has taken time out to join me on this particular occasion. Okay? This is an unusual one for me, so I'd just like to point out them to you at this particular time. You've heard from a couple of them already, but I'll just indicate that we have Dr. Carla McGuire Davis. We have also, this is our daughter, our older daughter, and then we have our grandsons, Joshua and Joseph, in the audience over there. Okay? A tremendous, really inspiration to me in that family. In addition, we have my sister, Patricia, and my brother-in-law, Harvey McKelvin, joining with us tonight. These individuals have driven over the miles just to be here at this particular occasion. And last but certainly not least in the audience is our sister, Annette Louise Yancey. Thank you, Annette, for being here as well. I extend a hearty welcome to you all. Now, I would like to just take a few moments this evening to talk briefly and share a perspective on how Louisiana has impacted both my personal and my professional life over the years. Simply put, Louisiana has provided the very foundation for my lifetime of personal and professional activity, examples of which you've seen earlier in tonight's program. No question about that. I am forever thankful to God for my loving parents, Mr. Harry and Mrs. Ruth Audrey Barsock McGuire, who, while growing up in the historic Treme neighborhood of New Orleans, instilled in me and my 7 siblings the importance of always keeping God first in our lives, for they knew that He is the source of all of our strength. This basic principle was followed closely by the importance of education as being the particular way in this world to, in fact, achieve a successful life. I can't just impress you enough on how much emphasis there was on the importance of getting a good education. In the rural communities where they grew up, they only had access to an 8th grade education, so they knew the lifelong constraints imposed by that particular limitation. Excuse me. Nonetheless, we were fortunate, indeed blessed, to have a supportive community that included educators from within the Orleans Parish public school system, within which I excelled from a very early age. Perhaps most significantly, by their example, my parents instilled in me the critical importance of preparing the next generation to meet and exceed the challenges that they most certainly would encounter in their lives, always knowing and learning from the past, and going forward, finding their God-given purpose in life and using it for their self-improvement and the improvement of the communities that they served. Yes, the guiding focus for our family was and continues to be the preparation of the next generation. And we sought to do that in our families, our individual families, as well as in the extended families of those individuals around us. As for my profession, I can tell you it was the public school system of New Orleans, Louisiana, where I obtained the foundation for my career. As the lead-in showed, I mean, from a very early age, I had this incredible curiosity about how things worked. And eventually, I graduated valedictorian from my high school class in 1966 from Joseph S. Clark Senior High School of New Orleans. Now, Joseph S. Clark High School, mind you, is the first public high school for African Americans in the downtown section of New Orleans, founded in 1947. As a consequence, we had a collection of extremely committed individuals as teachers and administrators connected to the community, as it turned out, that we were taught by, we were guided by, and we were shown the way to a better life. One of those was Dr. Olympia E. Bucree. It was in my senior year of high school that I took a physics course, and it was Dr. Bucree. It was her instruction, her guidance, and her faith in me, I would say, that it made me decide to pursue a career in physics. Now, mind you, in our family, we didn't have any engineers, we didn't have any physicists, we didn't have any engineers as such. But she saw my determination and she saw my interest. And as a consequence, she, in fact, just took me under her wing and gave me the support that I needed in order to be successful. Well, success at that particular time meant going on to a college, and that led me to an academic scholarship to study physics at Southern University and A&M College in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So up until that point, all of my education had been within the public school system of the state, and I benefited tremendously from that. And so as an undergraduate at Southern, the university opened doors of study for me in places like Columbia University, the University of California in Los Angeles, and other places. And at the beginning of my senior year, I met my lifelong mentor, Dr. Joseph Andrew Johnson III, who, upon reviewing my academic records, strongly recommended that I enroll in graduate study at the University of Rochester. Now, up until that time, I didn't really have any understanding of what graduate school was. But the way he said it to me simply was, oh, you want to do physics? Well, you've got to get a PhD. So, simple as that. And so I proceeded from that point to indeed enroll in graduate school, and I eventually achieved my PhD from Cornell University in 1979. And after conducting research at the Department of Energy's Oak Ridge National Laboratory and the National Aeronautics Space Administration's Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama, I returned to Cornell in 1990 as the first African American appointed to the faculty of the Endowed College of Engineering. Quite a challenge and quite a long ways from home. If you fast forward to 1999, as fate would have it, I had the enormous opportunity to return home to Louisiana as the chair of the Department of Physics at Southern University, where I began building the collaboration in physics and science education outreach between Southern University and LIGO. And let me just pause for a moment and indicate to you how fate works. I had spent 9 years at Cornell University doing what Cornell University faculty members do. That was about 30 years after I had left Louisiana. I went to a talk given by someone from California Institute of Technology talking about an experiment that was being done in my home state of Louisiana. That was going to place the most stringent test on Einstein's general theory of relativity to date. I sat there and I listened to it. And immediately, my whole experience, my lifetime in physics, came into focus on that particular experiment in terms of what it could mean for the students and the people of the state of Louisiana. And it's at that point I decided to indeed come back home. There was a compelling argument there. I had seen how large experiments worked, and I knew what the potential was. So, with that in mind, I had to have a talk with Saundra. Okay. And in addition to doing the research and the development on the core optics of LIGO, Southern University has played a crucial role in the establishment and the operations of the LIGO Science Education Center there, which is a science education center. How do you reach future generations? How do we, in fact, prepare the current generation to meet the challenges that they would, in fact, encounter? How do you do that? Well, you have to get to the teachers, of course, and you have to prepare the teachers. And this was the mechanism by which we chose to do that. And so we created a world-class science education center in Livingston, Louisiana. And to this day, we continue to function in such a way that we reach communities in Louisiana, near Baton Rouge, the United States, and the world with the work that we do. Most importantly, I must say that I'm proud to say that the countless Southern University students who have worked within the LIGO project, including both the science and the science education, worked in that project over the now 20-year collaboration, have gone on to successful careers in fields such as physics, engineering, medicine, and science education. Without question, this has been one of my greatest personal and professional accomplishments. Now, on a final note, let me express my appreciation to all, especially to my wonderful wife of over 50 years, Saundra, who has been with me the vast majority of the way along this journey. To my family, who's joined me on this occasion. To my many colleagues, students, and friends, I share this moment with you all. And as I do, in closing, just let me say simply, thank you, thank you. I sincerely appreciate all the support and the help that I have achieved at this particular time. And may God's continued blessings be upon each and every one of you. May God continue to bless the state of Louisiana. Thank you so very much.
Maya Angelou once said, if you're going to live, leave a legacy. Make a mark on the world that can't be erased. The legacy of education was instilled in our next honoree from an early age, sown generations before, that continues to impact students worldwide. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Saundra Yancey McGuire.
Everyone who comes in contact with her is inspired.
Saundra McGuire has had tremendous impact, literally, on thousands and thousands of students. Yes, at LSU, but across the country.
She's able to see the promise and value in students and what they can accomplish despite we may not see it in ourselves. She's able to see it.
Saundra Yancey McGuire was born the second oldest of four on December 13, 1949. However, the foundation for her life was laid well before then. Saundra's ancestors triumphed over decades of barriers, beginning with her paternal grandmother, Effie Gordon Yancey, the daughter of freed slave Isaac Gordon. Effie was the first in the family to attend college and taught in Greensburg, Louisiana.
That was extraordinary for anyone, not even considering that she was the daughter of a freed slave. The fact that all of her children went to college really cemented the emphasis on education. And I can see the influence of that long legacy in my mother, myself, and my children.
Saundra's father, Robert, was a high school science and agriculture teacher, and her mother, Delcy, taught elementary school. Saundra absorbed her parents' love of learning. She graduated from Glen Oaks High School early, at the age of 16. She entered Southern University, where she graduated magna cum laude. It was during her time in Southern's chemistry program that she met Stephen McGuire. Their chemistry soon spilled beyond the classroom, leading to a successful marriage that has lasted more than 50 years.
My mom and my dad, at their core, are insatiably curious people with a super high standard of execution. So if you put those two things together, you end up with people who are constantly learning and constantly educating themselves. And that was the vibe in our household.
Saundra went on to earn a master's degree from Cornell University and a PhD in chemical education from the University of Tennessee. She began her teaching career at Cornell, where she received the coveted Clark Distinguished Teaching Award. In 1999, Saundra moved back to her home state and joined LSU, where she became the director of the Center for Academic Success.
So the fact that Saundra McGuire is a woman leader on the faculty, also a woman of color, is quite exceptional. What a tremendous role model she's provided for so many people here at LSU.
Over the years, Saundra began to understand critical deficits in the education system. She wanted to see more students succeed, particularly in the sciences. The learning strategies she has pioneered have earned her countless awards, including the 2017 American Chemical Society Award for encouraging disadvantaged students to pursue careers in the chemical sciences. It's impossible to measure how many students she has mentored to successful careers.
Saundra believes that a human being can learn anything at any level. And she also believes that there are methodologies to learning, that you can help people to learn. You can put certain tools into their hands.
It transforms people's lives. I've seen so many students who, before they came to Dr. McGuire, were, failing out of college. I know one person in particular who, before he went to Dr. McGuire, the university was threatening to kick him out because he was doing so bad. But when he got connected with Dr. McGuire, he was making 4.0s and was able to graduate from college.
She thinks about how teaching is effective and is able to communicate that to both other teachers and to students.
Saundra has two daughters, Dr. Carla McGuire Davis, a department chair at Baylor College of Medicine, and Dr. Stephanie McGuire, an author and mezzo-soprano in Berlin, Germany. She is also the proud grandmother of Joshua, Ruth, Daniel, and Joseph Davis. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Saundra Yancey McGuire.
Thank you so much. Right now, I have an overwhelming feeling of gratitude. I'm very grateful to Louisiana Public Broadcasting and the Friends of Louisiana Public Broadcasting, and particularly the wonderful team that has produced this event tonight. They have just done a wonderful job making us all feel so special. Terry and Avery, I really appreciate everything that you did to make sure that all of our needs, wishes, everything were accommodated. Now, I also really appreciate the many, many people who are responsible for my being named a 2022 Louisiana Legend. This is an honor that I could never have imagined growing up in Baton Rouge in the 1950s and 60s. Tonight, I stand atop the shoulders of countless educators who've come before me. I stand shoulder to shoulder with the hundreds, no thousands of colleagues who work together. We work together tirelessly to lift the shoulders of so many students who've been beaten down because they've been told that they don't have the capability to learn. Without any of those groups, I would not be here tonight. And so I'm really, really grateful that I'm able to share this honor with the other distinguished legends and all of the ones in the past. Now, recently, I've been hearing people say that students today, especially African American students, have it much better than those of us who grew up in the 50s and 60s in the Jim Crow South. I'm not so sure. I think in many ways we had it better than today's students because of the ways that we benefited from our communities being so tightly knit and unified. When I walked into the Southern University Laboratory School, now celebrating its 100th year, or the Mount Pilgrim Baptist Church, the oldest church in Scotlandville, now in its 129th year, I was met with warm faces and encouraging attitudes, and that communicated to me that I could achieve anything. And as children of the Jim Crow South, with blatant racism and social injustices, we experienced so much of that it developed a strength and resilience in us that fortified us to excel in the face of overwhelming odds. Growing up in the historic Scotlandville area of North Baton Rouge that was bustling at that time with shops, restaurants, 2 movie theaters, and a motel, I was enveloped by a village that largely shielded me from the hostilities that awaited me in the outside world. And I grew up in the shadow of the Southern University and A&M College. It was the largest HBCU in the nation at that time. And by the time I enrolled at Southern in the fall of 1966, Chemistry Department Chair Dr. Vanden White had constituted a faculty that was consisting of 16 African American PhD faculty. They had chosen to come to Southern to inspire us to excel as they had. And they taught us by example that students of African descent could excel as much in science as in sports, as much in engineering as in entertainment, as much in mathematics as in music. So when I left Louisiana in 1970 to study and work in other states, I'd already developed a passion, and I knew that my God-given purpose in life was to mentor others as I had been mentored, to pay it forward. And that's what I've tried to do my whole life. I accept this honor tonight on behalf of my ancestors who fought for the opportunity to have an education, and many of whom never saw that opportunity realized. I accept it on behalf of my grandmother, the daughter of a freed enslaved man and the first in our family to attend college. I wish she were here today to see the legacy that she started. This legacy includes grandchildren who hold master's degrees, MDs, PhDs, and several of them are leaders in their fields, national leaders in their field. And she'd see two of her great-grandchildren who earned PhDs from the University of Oxford, one as a Marshall Scholar, one as a Rhodes Scholar. And I also accept it on behalf of the many colleagues at the various institutions at which I've worked, and especially my colleagues at LSU. It was colleagues in the Center for Academic Success, the Department of Chemistry, the College of Science, who really taught me so much when I moved back to Louisiana. And the ideas that I learned helped me develop the core principles that are the basis of what I do with students. And so I'm so thankful for that. The last 22 years in Louisiana have been the best years in my life. It's here in this beautiful state, with its captivating natural beauty, vibrant cities, unmatched cultural offerings, and incredible people, I have witnessed progress that I never would have predicted, progress toward making our state a place where access and opportunity are equally available to all, a Louisiana that lives up to its staggering potential. As I look back, I'm exceedingly grateful to God for the opportunities and resources only He could provide. I'm truly blessed beyond measure. Now, there are absolutely no words to adequately express my gratitude to my husband of over 50 years, the love of my life, my soulmate, Stephen Craig McGuire. He's been a constant support and mentor to me since I met him at a party at the Honors Program at Southern on October 13th, 1966. That was over 55 years ago. He's the consummate example of a dedicated scientist, scholar, educator who always demands the best of himself and inspires excellence in all of those around him. So again, let me say I am very, very grateful to the Friends of Louisiana Public Broadcasting for this humbling recognition of my life's work. I will cherish it forever. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big hand to our 2022 Louisiana Legends. I'd now like to call on Commissioner of Administration Jay Darden for a very special presentation. Commissioner.
Thank you, John. Wow, what a night. It's a real honor for me to represent Governor John Bel Edwards and Donna Edwards, co-hosts of tonight, to declare today Louisiana Legends Day. A proclamation has been issued with all the appropriate whereases and therefores to make it official in honoring these outstanding ladies and gentlemen. You represent the very best of Louisiana: education, science, the arts, preservation, business, athletics, and the grande dame of public broadcasting in America, Beth Courtney, who presided over so many of these occasions tonight, joins the honorees as a Louisiana legend. It's been a great evening. I'm glad you could all be here. Thank you for coming. And on behalf of the governor, it's Louisiana Legends Day. It's now Louisiana Legends Night, and I wish you all a safe trip home. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Darden. John, it has indeed been an outstanding evening here at Louisiana's Old State Capitol.
And unfortunately, you at home didn't get to have the wonderful dinner we had with the honorees earlier, but trust me, it was fantastic.
Indeed.
And so has this whole evening been. From all of us at LPV, we thank you very much for celebrating our 2022 Louisiana Legends this evening. Good night, everyone.
Support for this program was also provided by Laura, Louisiana's Creole Heritage Site. Go beyond the myths of the American South along the Great River Road, where there is a vanishing world at Laura, Louisiana's Creole Heritage Site. Greystone Consulting. LSU. Mr. and Mrs. Joseph A. Haddad. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with additional support from Acadian Companies, the Doré Family Foundation, Newt Dorset, D. Martin Phillips, the Neutron Group, Lamar Advertising Company, and viewers like you. Thank you.
We're process operators, instrument techs, millwrights. Exxon can teach you how to grow as a person in your field every day right here in Baton Rouge.
The Louisiana Legends Gala auction features some amazing items and experiences this year at auction.lpb.org. Whether you are looking for original paintings by Clementine Hunter, a private dinner prepared by Chef John Fulse, a luxury offshore fishing adventure, or your choice of unforgettable travel destinations, remember that with each bid you are supporting Louisiana Public Broadcasting.
Support for this program is provided by the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting and from viewers like you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Louisiana Spotlight. I'm Andre Morrow, Managing Editor and Anchor here at LPB. Tonight's topic, redistricting, has been hotly debated over the past few months, and it affects every single person in our state. Redistricting happened